Commitment is essential. What are your 4 or 5 recommendations for having a long-lasting relationship?
Well, you've touched on a couple. Honesty is one. Commitment is a big one because unless there's commitment in a relationship, you can't really get close to the other person because you're not fully in the game. So a good many problems in relationship are specifically related to one person or the other never having made a conscious commitment to really being there. So when couples come to work with us here, for example, one of our first questions is, do you really want to be here? Are you committed to being here? And people will say something like, well, gee, I just flew all the way from
Yeah.
Europe or someplace to be here, or Japan. Doesn't that tell you I'm committed to being here? And I say no, because that tells you could buy an airplane ticket.
Yeah.
But are you committed to being here and really learning what you need to learn about relationship? So commitment is a very powerful thing. A third thing is very powerful in a relationship, and that is expressing your appreciation and gratitude to the other person as a regular basis, on a regular basis, really letting the other person know, I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do here. I appreciate the way you smell. I appreciate the way you look. Thank you for making lunch yesterday. Thank you for taking the car in to be treated at the car shop. Those kind of things, they sound simple, but actually that's the heart and soul of a relationship is expressed appreciation. Not just appreciation you might feel inside. That's good, but really you got to let people know that they're appreciated, because we've had about 4,000 plus couples in our relationship workshops or here in our office, 4,500, I think, something like that. And one of the most common complaints when people come in is they say, I don't feel appreciated. He or she never says what they appreciate about me. And it seems simple, but you've really got to get that appreciation machinery well oiled and really let the person know how much you appreciate them. Because also, chronic criticism, which is the opposite of appreciation, chronic criticism is the number one reason people give when their relationship isn't working. They say, I'm tired of the criticism. I'm tired of always being criticized. So let's go to the other extreme and really lavishly appreciate the other person.
Gratitude. And we heard it creates miracle in our lives. I can definitely see how it creates miracles in relationships. Then more can come in, more love, more space for love, more exchange, more depth.
Absolutely.
More magic.
Well, love and magic are pretty much the same thing.
Is it? So what do you think does the level, and that sounds probably a simplistic question or naive question, but if we're not in love in life, I mean, we can be in love with life, we can love ourselves unconditionally, but the fact that we're not in a stable relationship, do you think that actually ultimately we cannot fully be ourselves and express ourselves in the world and even be on our mission and be fully at service? I mean, is there, because I hear the emotional part is a huge part of the general success, like being in couple. I mean, it gives a huge strength. Like right now, months ago I lost my job. You face this on your own. You're not in couple. Even if everything goes well, I'm guessing that your entire life deepens and it's not superficial anymore. You're actually co-creating at really the core level of something that we're supposed to experience and be in life.
Well, that's a great point you're making. However, I think that you've got to be committed to something. Now, it may not necessarily have to be another human being. For example, Katie and I just toured Hearst Castle on Thursday and Friday. It's a very famous place here in California that's a big mansion that was built by William Randolph Hearst back in the 1920s and 30s. And it's one of the most amazing places you've ever seen. You know, it's like 10 times the size of the palace at Versailles. You know, it's this huge, amazing mansion with all the art in it. The woman who designed that house was a woman named Julia Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Julia Morgan never married and she never had children. She was absolutely passionately committed to architecture. She was one of the first great women architects. And for me, because of her commitment to that, you know, that seems like a great way to spend your life to me because she was passionately involved. She designed over 500 buildings. So she had over 500 children, so to speak, you know, that not everybody has to do it with skin contact and that kind of thing. It's important to be passionately engaged with life, but you might be passionately engaged with a spiritual path or, like Julia Morgan, passionately engaged with your profession. I think the main thing is to have something you give your heart and soul to fully, and yet at the same time are willing to be completely independent in the gift of that heart and soul.
Yeah, because we see some monks, some people that are actually deprived of that. I mean, they're in that deep connection with the divine. There's those people with a deep connection, as you said, to their commitment. They're committed to something, and they reached amazing heights of communion and of service and of creation on this planet. So some of us, you're saying, need it. Some others are fine without.
I think so. And the trick always is to just find that thing in yourself that you are passionately committed to and go for that. And don't stop until you've found that and are spending your time there.
Mm. Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for this conversation and all those wonderful advice you're giving us. You're tremendously generous in those teaching, and I'm sure a lot of us, a lot of viewers on YouTube mainly, are gonna so much appreciate this.
Well, many blessings to you. And I'm glad to make your acquaintance. And thanks for the great conversation.